All right. You're the only one that they can see right now, so
Okay.
just so you know.
Is the sound going and everything?
Yeah.
All right. You should say hello. It's your channel.
Hi, guys. I'm Katie from Periapsis Press.
And I'm David.
And today we thought it would be fun. David's been slowly collecting comics, and he just got in some new bags and boards, and we're gonna put what he's collected all in nice, presentable, easily flippable packaging, and we thought it would be fun to share it with you guys, along with some of our thoughts on the comics. That will be mostly on David. I think I know what I like, but I haven't had a chance to really jump into them. So
yeah, and this is just a chill stream, not necessarily just something to do because there hasn't been anything in particular that we want to talk about, and people seem to like haul videos, and it's fun just to look at stuff and talk about it. So we'll see how this goes.
Yeah.
We're probably not going to get through like everything that I have to bag. So we might do more of this again sometime, or might do other comic videos at some point. I guess we'll see.
Yeah. And let us know if you have questions or topics that you think that we should talk about while we're doing this.
Yeah, this isn't like necessarily a comic focused stream. This is just what we're doing.
Yeah.
Something fun to do in the background while we chat. So, all right. Well, should we get started?
Let's get started.
All right. And I think what I want to start with is, so I collected all this stuff, and it's mostly from mostly stuff that I got from clearance bins and from $1.50 stuff. So most of it doesn't really have good bags and boards, but there's also a bunch that doesn't have boards at all. So I thought we could start with the stuff that doesn't have boards, and then if we get through some of that, we can get into redoing some of the stuff that has maybe the worse bags and boards. So with comics, what you kind of want to have optimally for the bag and board is you want stuff that is just the right size, so it's not too tight but also isn't too loose, because when stuff is too loose, then it kind of slides around, and you're more likely to accidentally bend a corner or something. And none of these are like super valuable, where they need to be stored this way. It's just kind of a nice way to store things, so they're easy to handle and look at. But like this one, it's like a really big bag and kind of a smaller board, so it's not the best. But I think I want to prioritize stuff that is only in bags. I bought a whole bunch of stuff from the St. Paul half price books that was only in bags. So we can start with some of that. And this is mostly going to be early Image Comics
Can
stuff.
we move this and slide your laptop over?
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm in an awkward position.
That's fine. Yeah, we're still figuring out how to set this stuff up. So, and I'm going to keep this low resolution so we're not fighting our own bandwidth, but I'll make it. Oh, actually, I'll make it smaller because I want to see the chat. Yeah. Here's the mouse. We want to go back and forth. Yeah, so we can start with some of this stuff.
Yeah.
So this is Shadowhawk Volume 3. So when they first did Shadowhawk, they did three small series. each with like 3 or 4 books. So this is volume 3, and then I also have Deathblow 1, 2, and 3 here. And if these bags are kind of snug, so if it feels like it's too snug, just we won't put it in.
Okay.
There's other stuff that might be thinner that would look better, and some of these I know are going to be too thick. So actually, why don't I'll just grab these two. Nice. Patrick just got here, so did we each want to try bagging them?
I'm happy to, as long as you would.
Or you can talk to people and I can work on bagging, whatever you want to do. We'll see. These Shadowhawk ones might be a little too thick.
You think so?
Yeah. Well, we'll find out. And I'll just try to open some of them too. Twin Towers, that didn't age well. As we're going through, just because they're fun to look at. One of the things I like about comics is, they have cool covers, but inside each one is a whole story with lots of cool images that you don't necessarily think about when you're just flipping through and looking at the covers.
Mm-hmm.
And I was mainly grabbing these, just looking at the titles and the covers and the numbers to fill in my collection, but I haven't actually read most of these yet. I am reading stuff through, but I haven't read most of the ones that we're bagging. I've not read yet. So
cool. So which way does it go with the flap?
Yep.
Up? Okay.
Yep, because it should fold over and go on the backside.
Sure, makes sense.
And I think the best way is to kind of get the board in first.
I think these will be fine.
Okay.
I could, if you, what we could do, if I could put them in and you could take the air out and take the adhesive off and fold them over on the top. That might work.
Okay.
Yeah, and just as long as the board is all the way down to the bottom, it should be fine.
Okay.
Yeah, Patrick, that's a good philosophy. I just like buying these old single issues because they're cheap, and I think it's kind of fun to have a whole bunch of comics that are bagged and boarded, because it's fun to like flip through and look at the covers and kind of just appreciate the collection. And also, I think it's kind of fun. It's kind of fun to look at the ads and stuff in them, because you get a little
How'd I do?
a little snapshot of the time. That's fine. This will go pretty flat if you can make it flat.
Okay.
But you're not going to screw anything up, because you can always take it off and put it back.
Okay.
So don't worry too much about it.
Sounds good.
And then they look so nice when they're bagged. These are like the cheaper bags and boards too that are poly. I have nicer Mylar bag and boards for some of my comics that are older, like stuff from the 70s. And those are also probably overkill, because nothing that I have is super duper valuable, but it's they just look so nice. Even comics that even comics that are just not kind of beat up or not worth a whole lot, they look really nice. Somebody made a Shadowhawk costume for their little girl.
Oh.
There's all kinds of fun stuff like this in the letters. I think the letters columns are kind of fun too, because people used to sit and write letters. Now we just argue on Twitter, but they used to sit and write letters into their, to the comics artists and editors and stuff that they admired. And they're nice letters too.
Fun.
Yeah. I have a couple of comics from the late 60s. That's the oldest stuff that I have. So I don't have a ton of like X-ray spec type stuff
Okay.
as far as ads in comics, but I remember as a kid there being old comics, different places that I would read. So I definitely remember seeing those kinds of ads. I always thought sea monkeys looked like fun. There'd always be ads for sea monkeys. You know what sea monkeys are?
No.
Babe? They're like little like shrimp eggs that you get, and then they grow into like little creatures that you have in a little tank, and like you feed them. So Patrick, you say you collect the Shadow. What era? Like how old are they? The oldest stuff I have is like late 60s. Some comics that belong to my mom. But most of the stuff I collect is like 70s, 80s, 90s.
I just love how the covers are so colorful. Even these Shadowhawk ones, which are dark, right? We've got purples, and it's not all blue and yellow and dingy.
Yeah, Jim Valentino's artwork in the Shadowhawk is pretty interesting. He's not my favorite artist in terms of like how his drawing is. His people are often really kind of cartoony looking and kind of rough, but I think I really like how they're colored. They always have really interesting, kind of weird colors on the inside. Deathblow I didn't show. I'll show the inside of this one. It's Jim Lee's.
It's so hard to see, but it's very cool.
Yeah, it's got this sort of embossed thing on the cover. Deathblow is his kind of. It's kind of like his take on a Frank Miller style. These like black outlines, silhouettes, and then with these, another cool thing about them is there's this cool. They're flip comics, so they have this other comic called Cybernary on the other side, which is kind of a which is actually they're not flip, it's just the cover. Cybernary is kind of this weird sci-fi sort of thing. Only ran for a few issues as far as I know, but it's a really cool, really dark art. So I'm kind of anxious to read this. I should set it down here. That probably would look better. Posters too.
Cool.
The cool thing about these is most of these are really not worth a whole lot at all. So if you were reading one and you're like, oh man, I really like that poster, just try to find another one in 50-cent bin.
Okay, so Patrick says that he's got the classic DC ones from the 50s and 60s. And
he corrected himself and said the DC ones are the 1970s.
Oh, okay. Oh, the 1960s one is Archie Comics version. Yeah, I don't know too much about Archie. I have one Archie comic from the 70s that also probably belonged to my mom or one of my aunts or something. And I read that as a kid, but I have not
read. What I think is kind of funny about Archie is how like the modern version of Archie that everybody knows now is like the really dark Netflix show, which sounds crazy because there's like murder and magic, and basically it sounds like everything that the Archie comic isn't.
Patrick says Archie Comics was the publisher.
Yeah, I know that.
Okay.
I know that, but the only Archie comics thing that I've read, as far as I know, is Archie.
It's Archie.
And I've only read, maybe one or two issues. I think there were some crossovers between Archie and that Christian Comics publisher too, if I remember right. There was this guy who was like a Marvel artist, and then he quit and started a Christian Comics publisher. And I see a lot of those in the antique stores, but they're usually marked kind of expensive because a lot of them are sort of collector's items. But I think anyway, there was some crossovers that they did with that publisher and Archie Comics, because there's some Christian Archie comics.
That's interesting.
Hey TJ.
Oh yeah.
You were getting into.
He brought up Image. I had used it in the conversation that David and I had, sort of behind the scenes, when I was like, this guy's crazy. And then he brought up Image, and I was like,
what? So what did he say?
Basically that their cultural impact was nil and void because they weren't doing anything today that was important. Nothing had lasted or something.
That's just wrong.
I know.
It's actually incorrect.
So I didn't.
On a lot of levels. when people start saying stuff that's just obviously wrong like that, it's like, why even bother?
And I didn't. I sidestepped it.
Yeah, because Image still is around. Some of these series are actually still going. They publish a lot of nonsense now, right? But I mean, they're still around, and the stuff of theirs that isn't being published anymore definitely still has a cultural impact, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of the indie comics stuff, a lot of the indie stuff is inspired by 90s comics. Like that's one of the reasons why I've started collecting this Image stuff, is because I'm seeing how it's the inspiration for a lot of work that's being done now.
Yeah.
Right. A lot of work that's being done now is kind of a callback to this, or people who were inspired by it, when they were young adults getting into comic making, right? So.
Yeah, I'll see if I can find that conversation. It was a while ago. I've been a bit more prolific on Twitter lately.
So this wasn't the same guy that you were arguing with yesterday?
Yes, it was. Okay, here we go. Gallon Dunn at Hammermore. I'm not saying you should go talk to him or anything. I just wonder.
We're just gonna sick all of our followers. This Images of Shadowhawk is this little Shadowhawk side series that was The art was done by Keith Giffen. It's really unique.
Oh,
art.
wow. Look how colorful.
Yeah, it's super colorful, kind of hard to read, but really cool.
That's awesome.
Very abstract.
Huh.
Just really like the I wouldn't want to read a whole ton of this, but it's really cool to look at.
So this conversation that I had with this guy was I had posted a meme in a reply. Mr. Beast made a tweet that was, whoever has the most liked reply to this in 48 hours gets all my Twitter revenue for the next month. And I knew going in this was never going to be me, because just a couple down is this big buxom girl with everything hanging out except for
nice.
nips, saying that she would send titty pics to everyone who likes her. And she's got 82.6 thousand likes on that.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, I don't even care. It's an open invitation. He's
Yeah, it's gonna get a lot of
interaction.
plus we're verified users, so our replies are boosted.
Yeah.
And it's something that you notice. I've noticed as our replies are definitely more visible.
I get more interaction off replies than I used to, for sure. So I posted my most beloved meme, I think, probably the one that gets a lot of likes and retweets every time I post it, which is the two guys in the bus.
Is that one that one of your friends made?
Yes. Yeah,
Jeff,
Patrick made it.
Patrick made it? Okay. Yeah, well, you should mention that.
Patrick made it for me. I asked. So I think this is the one where I asked, can somebody make this for me? And Patrick was like, here you go. because I am paint illiterate.
You just search for the meme name and generator online.
So on the one side it says nitpicking every little thing in the latest woke turd sandwich, and then on the other side it says actively finding good indie alternatives. And it has 5 comments, only one of which I can see. And that's a non-native English speaker wanting clarification, which he got plenty of clarification. Some people swooped in. 7 quote tweets. Most are my mutuals retweeting with promoting various indie things, which is awesome. And then this guy retweeted it saying, attempting to find alternatives is not the same. It will never be the same. Stop trying to get people to give up on the mainstream. That's how we lose. If the reviews don't get out, the movies make more money. So
he's arguing that people need to be making negative reviews of mainstream stuff, otherwise it's going to make money. I think that's what he was saying, right?
I think so.
Kind of a silly thing.
I think so. And again, this is so staticky. Every single one sticks to my hands.
I realized I pulled images of Shadowhawk number 3. I should have started with number 1, but that's fine.
Cool.
Yeah, so that was his first.
That was his first one. And then I replied to that, just bitching about the mainstream is not how we win. And then he had some interaction with other people off of that. For example, Endeavor to Persevere, which is at Hardy Eric, said, I don't complain about bad service at a restaurant. I just never go back. And this guy replied, "That's what they're counting on," and I have no idea what he means. um, but he, so after I replied to his tweet, I quote tweeted it, saying, "Keeping people from spending money on a bad product is not unimportant, but it isn't victory." With a follow-up comment, encouraging people to try entertainment that is made by people who don't hate them, tells stories that honor the values, and provides hopeful themes for them to take back to their daily lives. That is so much bigger than whinging. And that second part got a lot of interaction from other people. Let me see if I can find he quoted me saying, "Trying to replace something and failing is even less victory."
It's like, get it through your head that we're not trying to replace something. This is just kind of cool, something I want to show here. So there's an ad on the back of this, images of Shadowhawk for Pitt's next story appearing in Hero Illustrated. And the cover that Dale Keown did for that Hero Illustrated, he just recolored in as one of the posters that's offered in his Pitt poster campaign that they're running right now.
Oh, cool.
So there's like, this stuff is, the stuff that's talked about here is directly, it's like it still lives, it's still making the creators money, it's inspiring people now.
Yeah.
Right, these creators are still working. This comic is 30 years old, right? This was 1993, I think, or either 1993 or early 1994, but it's like September 1993. So this is almost 30 years old, but the stuff that it's talking about is still, being celebrated and enjoyed today.
So I said that it's not my intention to replace the mainstream. And if the indie scene thrives and provides something people appreciate, then I don't care if Disney or whoever continues to put out poor products until the end of time. To that, he replied, "Then you lack the necessary ambition to actually improve the art." And I said, "Wait, are you saying that complaining about the mainstream without doing anything proactive is ambition?" And he said, "You're assuming a lot." Like, okay, clarify your position. I'm confused.
Hello, Timo. Yeah, people really tend to get in a tizzy when your idea of how to, fight the culture war, for lack of a better word, is different than theirs.
Mm-hmm.
People really are very, very opinionated about that stuff. And, I want to focus more on talking positively about what we do than talking negatively about what other people do. But it's kind of funny how people, like, they see something like that and they're just like, "Yeah, you're doing it wrong."
Roland's Laws replied to my reply and said, "If the mainstream puts out bad entertainment and indies good entertainment, the mainstream will either adapt or fade away. In the end, there will still be good entertainment." And this is when he brought up Image. It's like, look at DC and Marvel in the 90s versus Image. Image is basically dead now and couldn't achieve half the culture cash of the characters created in the 90s by the big two. Same thing is happening here.
What characters were created in the 90s by the big two that are still around?
I was wondering.
Maybe Deadpool and Cable,
sure,
who were created by
people from Image.
People who went to Image, right? I mean, this is the thing. I don't get. I'm not a comics expert, so I'm sure there's other stuff, but to say that there's no cultural cachet that still exists to stuff that was created by Image is insane, right? Like, do you live under a rock? I mean, I've known who Spawn was for years and years. and I've never read a Spawn comic until this year,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
right?
I tried not to correct him. I knew other people would.
Yeah. Yeah. So
um
when people just say stuff that's that wrong, you just gotta like
Yeah.
stop talking to them because it's not worth it.
I tried to keep the focus on what I was talking about. If replacing DC and Marvel had been Image's goal, then you might have a point. But my goal is to have options that galvanize the industry and art in general. And you can't deny Image's cultural impact. If indies can do something similar, then that would be a success.
And yeah,
And then he said, I kind of can. All their fake X-Men comics died in a year. The Walking Dead became a laughingstock. Invincible is the only comic that's managed to break through with actual quality. And I did not
Spawn-
reply. I was
Spawn.
like, this is the
Spawn.
stupidest thing ever.
Spawn. I mean, and that's the thing too, is these guys will basically whatever you come up with as an example of a success, they'll say, oh well, that's not good, right? Like they just say, you know, when they're talking about the X-Men knockoffs, right? I know what they're talking about. And those, yes, they're X-Men knockoffs, but there's still things that a lot of people enjoyed and inspired a lot of people to do stuff and have their own merits. And then like Spawn, I mean, what is he? He's probably just would say Spawn is dumb or something.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, that's just like your opinion, man, right?
He also said, what options? What are they currently publishing that's had any impact?
Spawn.
And I said, your position appears to be that it's pointless to promote indie alternatives to mainstream direct because we can't possibly quote unquote win.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm not a nihilist. I won't resign myself to lamenting how bad XYZ is when I know there are better indies out there. Then he said, you're the one black-pilled on the idea of improving the mainstream. I'm not the one saying we should give up on mainstream media.
But you can't, like, I as a person, I can't say I'm going to improve mainstream media. Did you get a message from Free Narnian at all?
Yeah, he can't make it.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure there wasn't anything waiting there.
Nope.
I mean, like, I can't wake up in the morning, eat my toast, and then be like, I'm going to improve mainstream media. Right? I can't. What can I do? I can make indie art and stuff. So, I'm going to show this quick before I back it. So this is Gen 13 number 3. This is the only issue I have of Gen 13, and a couple interesting things about Gen 13. So this is one of 1994, and the art or pencils is done by J. Scott Campbell, who is kind of famous. There was a kerfuffle a couple of years ago where a bunch of SJWs went after his Mary Jane cover.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
remember that?
I remember that.
The
She
one
had
where
like her
where
leg tucked up
she's,
under her.
She's like sitting in, and her legs are tucked up, and
She's got her elbows pulled.
Yep, her elbows pulled in, so she's like
Her elbows
squeezing
look like
thumbs
my
up.
elbows.
And that's J. Scott Campbell's style. Like, he has this very kind of stylized, really draws like beautiful female characters. And this I grabbed mainly because it has Pitt in it, and I like Pitt, so I grab everything Pitt. I'm looking forward to getting this in a bag and board because it's kind of curled over, so we'll get it find out. Oh, nice, and there's a bunch of nudity in here.
Oh gosh. Sorry, guys.
It's all no, it's not. It's all PG-13 stuff. You know, they don't show anything. This is all like, other than violence, it's all pretty safe stuff. Yeah, that's the other thing. You want to talk about a cultural impact? McFarlane's toys.
Oh, sure.
Right.
Yeah.
You think that would have happened if he didn't have a super successful comic, right? If Spawn wasn't selling hundreds of thousands or millions of copies,
Mm-hmm.
that he could have successfully started making toys.
Yeah. And I just said two more things. I said I didn't think complaining was productive. If you want to improve the mainstream, investing money in the kinds of products you do want is the best way to send a message for them to course correct. And he says that's black pilled. Sure, invest money, but there are more efficient, direct methods of investment making an impact.
And so I'm assuming if he's staying consistent, what he means by that is like making YouTube videos talking about how bad mainstream movies are. Like
Right.
that's what he's saying is the most effective thing to do.
Yep. And I just replied, and we've circled back and quote tweeted, wait, are you saying that complaining about the mainstream without doing anything productive is ambition?
Yeah.
I was like,
Well,
what are you talking about?
He would disagree with you. He doesn't believe that complaining is unproductive.
Sure.
That's what the difference is. You and I would say complaining is not productive.
Right.
You would say complaining is productive.
Stopping people from spending money.
Yeah. He would say the most productive thing you can do is stopping people from spending money on legacy media.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think there are people that need to complain, but I would like to see more people just making their own stuff.
Yeah. I would like, yeah. I don't see how complaining about legacy media and keeping people from spending money on mainstream stuff, right, is any different in terms of undermining mainstream media, right? Because his thing is that that's not how you win, giving up on mainstream media, right?
Well, I think he would say you do bad reviews of them, and then that makes them course correct.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, then mainstream media gets better.
Yeah, but people still didn't spend money, right? Either they don't spend money on mainstream,
Yeah.
or they do spend money on indies,
Mhm.
right?
You wanna you can bring down Patrick's thing.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So
I forgot that it was there.
somebody mentioned X-Men knockoffs here. So this, for people who don't know, this is Youngblood number 0. Youngblood was Rob Liefeld's X-Men knockoff. This is a Marvel X-Force number 7. So you could look similar at all. But it's still, it's still him doing his thing, right? And that's what I think is cool about Image Comics is they are the creators kind of doing their own thing for better, for worse. And they remind me a lot of kind of like self-published like indie books, and just how they're kind of over the top and weird, and there isn't necessarily people saying, hey, maybe you shouldn't do that, maybe you should maybe you should write a better story or something. They're just kind of doing their thing. And I appreciate that, and I find it interesting. I think I'd rather read. Oh, that's kind of fun. This is a whole bunch of like sideways.
Oh,
stuff.
fun.
I'd rather read a bunch of somebody kind of doing their own thing, somewhat poorly, than like a team, like a committee effort that's super polished.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's one of the wonderful things about indie stuff.
Cool wraparound cover on this one.
Oh, cool. The nice thing too about the like lack of polish is that it's not just, or it's not merely like errors and distractions that bring you out of the story, right? I think that's what people think of when they think of indie that is not polished. But I think what is more common in my experience is a lack of polish that means that the story beats don't land exactly where you're expecting them to, because it hasn't been
Hasn't been pre-worked.
pre-worked, right, by an editor who's like, well, here's what needs to happen, right? So
Mm-hmm.
we'll cut this here and we'll put this here, and we'll make this scene a little bit more dramatic because that would be the beats, right?
Mm-hmm.
Pre-chewed.
Yeah.
And what it can end up doing is making a story that surprises even an experienced whale reader, right? Somebody who reads everything they get their hands on. Especially when so many indies love to just throw everything at the window, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
and you get things that really go off the rails and are crazy and weird, and you get these climaxes that are so like just things all coming to a head
Yeah.
in ways that you don't expect.
Doug Wise says over edited to the 3 acceptable endings.
Yes.
And that's a great way of putting it. And Patrick said that he thinks Image's downfall was the direct result of Liefeld not being able to draw feet and drawing too many pouches. I should have flipped through one of these because you can definitely see that he doesn't like he prefers not to draw feet. But I think like look at this cover, right? How many feet do you see? I kind of find those flaws interesting and somewhat charming, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think, like, so for me, so this is Stormwatch. I don't have Stormwatch number 1, unfortunately. I have 0, 2, 3, and 4. I think this was pencils. Okay, Brett Booth and J. Scott Clark did the pencils here, but like this stuff might be like more technically correct than Rob Liefeld, but it's not necessarily more interesting to me or better, probably out of all of the Image founders, I think Jim Lee is the least interesting, just because like his style is now kind of what people think of as like a good superhero book style. It's just very correct, very very anatomically correct, kind of classic. I don't necessarily find that super interesting. And I'm correct. This Jeffrey Scott is... No, there's Jeffrey Scott and there's Scott Clark. There's some different J. Scott Clarks going on. One of these, I think, Scott Clark is J. Scott Clark. It's kind of funny. One thing I think is kind of fun about Image stuff too is they were also attempting at the beginning to do like the Marvel style crossovers between everything, and that is something that they did maybe not super successfully, but it's something that you can get into without reading a million things.
Yeah.
Right. Like there's only like a dozen, at the most a dozen series in the first couple of years, or first year. So there's like only so many different ways that the crossovers can go, and only so many characters, and it's a little bit more manageable if you're just like trying to get into it, see what they're doing. Oh yeah. Yeah, I've heard about that. That there's an artist for Marvel called Greg Land that people are pretty sure he traces stuff for his art and probably traced some pornography for some women making certain faces.
Yikes. Why? I just love how colorful they are.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's graded all the heck now.
Yeah, to me, like Image still looks like what I think of when I think of a comic book.
Mhm.
They were starting to do this thing with digital coloring where there's more gradients on things, but it still is kind of the traditional actual pencils and ink, and then colored by a separate person in a separate process.
Mm.
So it still like looks like what I think of when I page through a lot of modern stuff. It just doesn't look like comics to me. It's like, oh, that's maybe interesting, but it's just, you know.
Yeah, I know. It's like a visual story, but it's not really a comic.
Yeah, or paintings. And I'm not a huge fan of digital paintings
Mm-hmm.
anyway. I'm fine with digital art, right? I'm a digital artist myself, but it's just when I think of comics, I kind of imagine something different. Well, we're actually making really good progress here.
Yeah.
Stormwatch number 3. Let's see here.
Now I feel a little bit bad because Iron Age Media did an interview with George Alexopoulos. And then John Douglas did an interview with Razor Fist, and A Drink with Crazy had their big stream. And I have nothing lined up for you guys that's anything like that. And I hope you guys enjoy this as much as we are.
Oh yeah, so Brainiac says his favorite go-to from Image was the Max. So I've heard good things about that, and I've kind of got my eye out for the Max. I haven't seen any of those in the clearance bins. So I think that's a series that
people hold on to,
and you know, it's not expensive at all, but you know, a few bucks an issue. But it's something that maybe is more of a collector's item. And see, the reason that these are in the clearance bins too is there was just so many of them.
Yeah.
They were printing tons of them at the height of the comics speculation boom, whereas the Max wasn't. I actually do have the first Max story though. Find it.
Hi, the ultimate kahuna.
Oh, nice. Hello.
Thanks for coming.
So this, if my understanding is correct, is the first appearance of the Max.
Brainiac says, "Don't look up the price of issue 35."
Of the Max?
Or Saga. I know Patrick was talking about Saga.
Yeah, so this has this darker image is 3, the Max, Blood Wolf, and Death Blow. So the first Death Blow story is in here too, but here's the Max, and this is really really unique art. If I hold it like this might work the best.
Whew.
Oh wow. What is special about that issue? About issue 35? Patrick says that he was reminded that there is a crossover with Savage Dragon and a Mars Attacks collection that he has.
Oh,
I like Savage Dragon a lot. He's kind of a funny character because he's a police officer.
babe, did you not want to put that one in a new one, or will that fit?
Not right now.
Okay.
I wanted to focus on getting the stuff that wasn't on boards
Okay.
and new stuff. Last issue, low print run, epic end to the story.
Oh,
That's kind of sad that the last one is so expensive.
yeah.
I didn't know the Max ran for that long. A lot of these image books kind of died out after like 10 or 15 issues. That's the other fun thing about collecting them, is like if you find something that you really like, it, you're not reading it forever
Mm-hmm.
if you want to get the thing, unless it's Savage Dragon. Savage Dragon is still going.
Yep. Do you guys have a favorite style of comic book cover? I don't know.
You kind of like painted covers, right?
I do. I like. Trying to think if I know of a good example.
Well, like you were talking about those Deadpool. You've got a few like modern issues of
Yeah.
Deadpool that you kind of like the covers on. They grabbed you.
Mm-hmm. I like things to have color. I like stuff like this is fine, but I kind of like to see, I mean, maybe this is the girl in me talking. I like to see something that gives me a feel for the story.
Yeah.
This is like characters' action, and I like my characters to be cool, but what I want to know is a little bit more about like relationships and like that kind of hint for characters. Actually, I'll get one of the Deadpool ones that I got,
and then I can grab some of my favorite stuff too. I feel you with the alternate art style, Ultimate Kuna. I think that's really cool. Most of these image comics, I wouldn't say like I'm super excited about the covers. I'm more excited about the actual books. For covers that I really like, I have some stuff that's a lot older that I'll show here in just a second.
all right, I'm dodging Lego bags over here. I never put them away. So this was the first that I bought, like just because when David was first getting into comics, I was like, I know nothing about comics, and I know I like Spider-Man and that I'm never ever going to be able to make a dent in that, and that I don't want anything modern. But another character that I really enjoyed is Deadpool. And like this gave me a sense of setting and a sense of something that happens, right? This is another one that I grabbed. I have no idea if Conan is in it or if it's just on the cover. But you know, I wanted something that gave me a hint as to what the action was going to be like. So yeah, I don't know anything about who did these covers or why, or I read this one. I haven't read the other one, but yeah, I tend to like color. I think I've mentioned color a couple times now. More recently, I grabbed these. David helped me go through the bins and find. This is steampunk. And the art is very cartoony. But it's by Phil Foglio. He's done some Magic the Gathering cards. So if you know Magic the Gathering, it's just kind of fun.
He has kind of a cartoony style, but I like it. So some of my favorite covers are from more like Bronze Age stuff, where the cover, like you were saying, tells a story.
Yeah.
So this Tomb of Dracula, you know, you can clearly see what the story is about. And I've read this comic, so I know that it's actually is the case. Is you know, there's like a car crash of some kind, and then Dracula's scooping up this woman, you know, and there's text on the cover too. The vampire walks among us. The city of Boston cowers in fear as the Lord of the Undead stalks the night. It's just really cool. Storytelling just in the cover. And then here are some of my favorite Conan the Barbarian covers that I have. So it's like battling these female-headed squid monsters, and there's, you know, usually a lot of text on these covers. This tree that eats people is really awesome. And oh
yeah, that one's great.
There's this run kind of that makes this nice story arc in Conan from about like issues 71 through 75. And this, Hawk Riders of the Forbidden City, it says, "We've flown high and far, Outlander, all the farther for you to fall." So I like some of these covers that have speech bubbles on them. Just really good stuff. And I mean, it's fun just to look at these with, you know, without even reading the comic. They're so cool.
As long as I'm pulling stuff out that I own. These are George's.
Oh yeah, he has great covers.
Like, this tells me so much more about her than sort of the iconic image that he tweets a lot, where she's in the mech firing it. It's a totally badass image. But this draws me in with hints about humor and about the character in general. And then he has stuff about the mech that she's in on the back, and I think that's fun. This one is called Bad Dreams, and on the front is this weeping girl, and then on the back is this sort of gothic, I don't know, shelves of candles. That's really hard to tell. But it gives both a sense of character and of setting and what to expect, you know? So that's the kind of thing I like. There.
Yeah, so Brainache Conan was the first comic that I started collecting because there was a bunch of comics for sale at a local antique store. I have never really been super big into superheroes, so I wanted to try something different. And at the time, everybody, you know, in Pulp Rev on Twitter was talking about Conan, and I didn't really know anything about it. So I thought maybe the Conan comics would be a good intro, and they are really good. Really, really, really cool. They're a lot different than a lot of the other Marvel stuff, and just really neat, beautiful art, cool stories. The first one I read was amazing. I was like, whoa! It kind of caught me off guard by how cool it was. This is Supreme. It's Rob Liefeld's take on Superman, and it's there's a crossover with Pitt in this issue, so I grabbed it.
Cool.
I think this is a later one. Oh, 1994, actually not super late. I've tried to stick with earlier stuff for Image because if you go later, then there's all kinds of random series and stuff. I do the big sort of trend around 1994 and shortly after they started getting into as bad girls. So a lot of these sort of like badass, sexy female like vigilante type characters, and I'd like to get some of those, but those aren't as quite they're not as easy to find for cheap as these because that was when you started getting past the speculator boom and there just wasn't as many of them printed anymore.
This was a lot of fun. I like a lot of fun talking comics with you guys. I don't really know all that much about them, unfortunately.
Well, I don't know too much about them either, but I've really enjoyed the time, and I think I can definitely see like why comics fans like comics so much. It's a really rich thing to get into, and there's some great stories, great some of these I'm not so the rest of the stuff I have here are source books. I'll actually flip through a couple of these quick, but I'm not gonna put them in these bags because these are a little bit thicker. So I was really excited to find these in the clearance bin. They are basically sort of like encyclopedia type books where it's not a story, it's just here's the different characters with their stats and stuff, and then it's really fun because they get all kinds of different artists to draw them. So like here's down the table of contents is who drew what. So there's characters, and then they'll have like pages for their different weapons and gear and stuff. Let's see Andy Smith drew Blood Moon. He's one of the Comicsgate guys.
Oh, cool.
So they're just fun just for examples of different styles And I, I like world building, so I think kind of it's interesting to see how people present kind of encyclopedia, world encyclopedia type material. And there's neat stuff, not just characters here, but like buildings and machines, their vehicles. I mean, I would have loved this kind of thing as a kid. I used to draw like these ship cutaways and vehicle cutaways a lot as a kid. So just interesting stuff. Oh, nice. Here's a there's a wraparound cover, and it has a key to where all the characters are on the inside.
That's cool.
Yeah, but these books are a little thicker. I'm gonna try to find some different things to put in. So I've got the Wildcats source book number 2, Youngblood Battle Zone 1 and 2. Oh, here's Wildcat source book number 1. This one's got a cool shiny cover. All right, did you want to do a few more?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm happy to stop whenever.
We can go a little longer.
Yeah. So got some more stuff here that did not get in. And I'm gonna grab some more. Oh, some of these I've got to peel the stickers off.
Whoop.
So it might slow me down a little bit.
Oh yeah, Patrick mentions the Star Trek cutaway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I never had I never remember seeing like Star Trek cutaways, but some of my favorite books when I was a little kid were the Star Wars Incredible Cross Sections books. And I used to draw, like I said, I used to draw cross sections of my ships from my fictional universe that I had as a kid.
Ah, B.A. Turner. Welcome.
This might actually, I don't know, depending on how hard these are to come off, this might be a
job for another time.
I could grab some stuff that we could put in different bags and boards.
Sure. Do you want to take these two?
Yep.
Oops.
Yep.
I
Did you
missed one.
close those? Yeah. Oh yeah. Here's some stuff.
There.
Yeah, we'll do a few more.
few more and then call it a night.
Call it a night.
Sounds good.
Right. So here's the only Wildcats book that I have. This is Jim Lee's series. It's kind of fun. It's Jim Lee pencils and Rob Liefeld inks
Oh, cool.
on the cover. These seem like they're harder to find, at least around here in the clearance bins. This is the only one of these that I've seen, and I haven't seen too many of them in the like just for sale at all, like half price books. So I think this must have been one that just wasn't as popular, or I know Jim Lee is popular now, so I don't know if it's something that people hung on to more, or exactly what. I know my understanding was that Shadowhawk and Savage Dragon were less. There were a lot less of them printed than Spawn and Youngblood and some of the other stuff, but I didn't. I thought Wildcats was kind of up there with the others. Grab these out of the way. This is Wetworks #1. This is Will Portasio's series. And this came out later than the other ones. So the first Image books came out in 1992, and this one didn't come out till June of 1994. And he has a letter that explains why his sister was really sick. And I think he was like back in the Philippines, I believe, kind of like helping her out at the end of her life. And then she passed away, and then he was able to come back and put his book out. So kind of interesting story. Oh yeah, is that the Lois Lane issue where she becomes black? Yeah. Patrick's sending us politically incorrect stuff.
No, it's in my DM.
So one of the comics that I have from my mom is a issue of Lois Lane.
Nice.
It's one where she goes undercover to jail with a bunch of criminal women. It's funny. They're like getting in food fights and stuff in the jail and like pulling each other's hair and stuff. We'll flip through that one sometime. Those books are kind of funny. Like that story is basically like Lois Lane gets into trouble, and then like Superman rescues her. Basically how it goes. Maybe you can
What have you
get
done?
the kink out of it at the bottom corner.
I see it.
Yeah, I was really excited. I was able to find Wetworks 1, 2, and 3 all at the same time in one trip. It's really annoying when you find like book 3 and book 4. It's like, oh, should I buy this? At this point, I'm buying them. But I think most of these are interesting enough that they warrant at least just looking through. I've been thinking a lot about visual art and, you know, visual art for promotion and storytelling. And whew, this is an interesting page here.
Oh my. What are you doing on my channel?
It's okay, you're not monetized. So. Oh, look at this.
Chibis.
It's fun. And then this is cool. So here's an ad for the Lord of the Rings game for Super Nintendo. This is a
Oh,
really,
cool.
really bad game. It's not good. I need to get a copy of it because it's not very expensive, and it's, you know, just to stick on the shelf next to the Tolkien stuff would be fun, but it's not a good game. And then Mortal Kombat ad on the back cover. That's kind of cool.
I think I got it mostly out.
Maybe.
I don't know.
That's fine.
I tried.
It's not a big deal.
Might be a problem with the bag itself. I refuse to take responsibility.
It's easy to fix later. Any more Twitter drama to talk about? Did you get into anything today?
Well, I may have.
Just now?
um,
You're just like making offhand comments
Yeah.
while we're streaming.
no, no,
Twitter.
it was earlier, and I had just checked.
You like tweeted at somebody and then muted it and it came back a few hours later. Ah, this one did the same thing. What is going on? Oh, I see. What? So what is this one? that
Well, I'm trying. So I remembered it because you were talking about me not being monetized. Someone accused. Oh, it was. I know. It was. I got roped into talking about Matt Walsh.
Oh yeah. I guess you watched One Punch Man.
Yeah. I have to. I don't remember the whole context, but oh yeah, it ended pretty well. I under one of George Alexopoulos's tweets about Matt. I can't figure out why conservatives have such a reputation for being boring, finger wagging sober sides who hate fun. We may never figure out why young people don't want to join our side. And I posted the meme where the guy shoots the other guy.
Yeah.
Anything to do with pop culture and right wing.
That was a couple days ago that you posted that.
Yes, the 12th.
Oh geez. So
it was a while
long time
ago. But yeah. So that would have been last week. Why are we losing the culture war? And True African Hero replied and was saying that
Matt Walsh has done more for the culture war than you ever will.
Yeah, basically. And accusing me of lying. Yeah, straight. Doesn't Daily Wire make documentaries, books, and even made a film with Gina Carano?
Yeah.
I don't know how to say her last name. It's like Daily Wire makes one film and automatically they're the good guys.
Yeah.
Memes like this don't work when you just straight up lie because someone doesn't like Asian cartoons. And then we went back and forth a little bit. And he said, a bunch of stuff. And then he ended by saying, or is he just alienating people like you who make anime and video games their whole personality? And I just kind of poked fun at him saying that was my whole personality. And then he had said allegedly Matt Walsh had a hate boner for video games and anime. And I just said allegedly nothing, and I linked our YouTube video about where we went through it. He said and he's like you're plugging your channel to show me something I've already seen, and accused me of having Walsh derangement syndrome. And I said, I made my arguments in the video. If you'd rather argue with a straw man, have fun. And he replied, no ad revenue for you. Sorry. And that's what made me think of this conversation. Maybe don't lie on people just because they don't share your opinions and hobbies. And I just replied with a gif of a guy who's like dressed up like a scarecrow, just shrugging.
Yeah.
Like, I'm done here. And he liked that. So I feel that was a good end to that conversation. Like,
I've kind of lost my taste for arguing with people on Twitter at all.
Yeah, I know.
When people comment on my stuff just wanting to argue, I just ignore them at this point.
I think I have a lot of fun with it. Like I try not to get too serious, and I try to think of a way to communicate my ideas without taking accusations and stuff to heart. And I just try and keep it fun. If it stops being fun, then I drop the conversation. And I'm like, I don't have to do this. Just like I mute people and block people. Like I don't have to put up with you just because Twitter's not a.
Well, especially when that guy probably has like a couple hundred followers or something, right? I mean,
Right. Yeah.
There's diminishing returns in like arguing with people who are smaller than you.
Yeah, and I don't want to be mean.
Right. You don't want to be mean. You risk actually dunking on somebody too hard if this one's got a price sticker on it. It's a boomer. Let's see if that comes off.
Guilty Gearhead, no, he did not like it.
All right, save that one for later.
Some people have pointed out that One Punch Man is really an anime for people who know anime.
Yeah, it's like a parody of anime. Or like a play on a lot of the tropes in anime, right? So I don't know. It's not probably a good one to watch if you're going to only watch one, but you can watch whatever he wants and form his own opinion about it. It doesn't change anything.
Yeah.
And I mean, he's at this point, he's just doing it for engagement, right? Like people accuse you of being dishonest or lying about it, right? Walsh is doing the same thing, right? All of his things that he says about it and his whole tone is just about getting engagement, not actually about engaging with it. And I feel comfortable making that accusation, not having seen it, because he's not shown any sign of doing something else, right? So this comic is really interesting. It's an Image comic with pencils and the plot by Jack Kirby. So they published, I think, only 2 issues of this, but it's very kind of vintage looking thing, and they were able to kind of do this for him at the end of his life and make a whole bunch of money for him.
Cool.
Because everything Image was selling like crazy.
Death Note would be fantastic.
I
think he'd call that satanic.
Oh, I'm sure.
Right.
Yeah, that's the thing, is anything that's too slice of life is going to be dismissible as for children,
Mm-hmm.
and anything that has more complex themes or has like weird anime like staples,
Distinctives.
yep, is going to be dismissible as immoral,
Mm-hmm.
or as like he says, satanic.
Does Matt Walsh ever talk about like any kind of fiction that he actually enjoys? I don't think so, right? He certainly didn't in the video that we watched.
Right.
It's hard to say for me what he would like when I don't know of him ever talking positively about anything.
Right.
And
He was
that's
sort of begrudgingly said superheroes were okay.
yeah.
Kind of. They had a redeeming value as I don't know.
Here's Supreme number 1. This
That's
is
cool.
Rob Liefeld's Superman. Very colorful.
Doug Weiss says, I bet he barely likes his own Walrus book.
Yeah.
I doubt there are any children who like his book. So,
Mhm.
As they say, as C.S. Lewis says, that would be a poor children's book.
Mhm. Yeah, I really have trouble seeing that Walrus book of his as an actual kids
Yeah.
book.
It's not serious.
To me, it really just seems like a grift.
Yeah. It's
Well, and I mean, I shouldn't use the word grift because I mean, if he's making a product and people are buying it and they're happy with it, it's not cheating anybody out of anything. But
it is not a genuine attempt to create art for the sake of inspiring and entertaining children.
yeah, it's pure message fiction.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Well, I think we're gonna call it good for tonight. That's all of the stuff that I have that doesn't already have a bag and board of some kind on it, or has doesn't have like price stickers on it. So I've got to peel some price stickers and kind of sort, and maybe if we do this again, I'll pull out some stuff ahead of time for putting new bags and boards in. But yeah, this was fun.
Yeah.
It's fun talking about something a little bit different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Give us opportunity to explore new topics.
Mm-hmm. You got to see some of my comic stuff that I've been collecting, and if we rebag stuff, we can talk more about stuff that I've actually read.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah, that would be
So
fun.
that might be fun.
Okay. Thank you guys so much. Let us know if you enjoy this kind of content. We do, so
Yeah, and maybe we'll be back later this week with some more Lego stuff.
yeah.
We'll see. I want to make more headway on that Rivendell because we've barely gotten into it. Right?
Yeah. It's
Less than
we're
less
about
than
a third way.
at the most.
Well, yeah, yep,
Yeah.
yeah. And I am still waiting on my book, but we are reading The Long Moonlight by Razor Fist for our book club, and we haven't picked a date yet for the live stream. We'll try to give people plenty of time to read it. It's a short one, but like I said, I still haven't gotten mine in the mail yet, so hopefully sometime this week that'll roll in. If you guys are interested, I have a Gilded set up for talking about the book for the book club ahead of time. Just let me know and I'll shoot you a link. I'm not gonna just put it out there. I probably could. I'm not
I don't think that's a
gatekeeping or
good
anything,
idea.
but right. Like I just want it to be people who are actually serious about it,
Mhm.
Yeah. Yep. I think that's all I wanted to make sure to talk
Mhm.
about. All right. Thank you guys so much. I don't know if you can see me. You guys have a great night.
See ya.